Morant with a running start. Elevates. Oh, it dunks. Oh, my goodness.
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone. Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it. A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant. He hit it. John Morant. Insanity.
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. The Grizzlies lose Game 4 in heartbreaking fashion. It was a very exciting, it was an odd game. I was at the game in Los Angeles. I spent Tuesday flying home. I know this episode's coming out much later than normal. It also won't be probably as involved as normal. Didn't have the time to do the normal level of stats lookup that I usually enjoy, but I thought I should give a reaction podcast so you have something. And then, of course, we'll be back at it for the do or die Game 5, where the Grizzlies try to save their season on Wednesday night. This one, Game 4, it started way too much like Game 3, I think, for most people to enjoy. I mean, the Lakers technically didn't run off to this huge opening lead. The Grizzlies were the one who hopped out. They scored first. They got up by, they were up 8-2. It's not 18-2 like the Lakers were up in the previous game. But then suddenly the Lakers found their footing. They went on a 15-5 run. They were up by 6 after the first quarter. And then the first half of the second quarter, the lead swells. And all of a sudden, the Grizzlies cannot score. Again, we're in the postseason, not able to score. Now, a lot of this stuff lined up with just the backups coming in, the few Tyus Jones minutes, the Roddy minutes, the Kennard minutes. For whatever the reason, the Grizzlies in the first 18 minutes of their last two basketball games have really struggled to score. Now, I made a note of it. The Grizzlies were shooting 33% from the field in Game 4 after the first 15 minutes. In the previous game, they actually had shot half that. They were shooting 16.7%. So they weren't 5 for 30 from the field this time, but they were 11 for 33. A lot of it, and the story of this game, I guess there's a few stories to this game. One of them is LeBron James had his first 2020 game of his career. But another one of the stories of the game is the Grizzlies could not make three-pointers. They were 9 for 42 from 3. The Grizzlies shot under 40% overall for the second straight game. Both games in LA, under 40% from the field. But despite falling behind, despite basically every starter having a terrible shooting percentage after the first quarter and a half, they cut into the lead and they finished the half for the second straight game on a run. They outscored the Lakers 14-1 to close the first half. And because of that, despite what, for me, I felt like the series was over. At the start of the second quarter, I'm like, we don't have it. Our guys, the advantages I thought we were going to have, I thought our backcourt was going to score at will. I thought we were going to make more three-pointers than them. And I thought that we would be able to win the turnover battle. Basically, none of this stuff was happening. And then the fears I knew about, we're not good at rebounding. We're not good in the half court. I don't trust any of our bench players. All of those seemed so large and daunting. And then you had guys stepping up, like Austin Reeves getting better and better and better. You had Jared Vanderbilt come out and make 2 3-pointers. The man hadn't made a 3-pointer in like a month. And because of that, I was like, this series is over. But the Grizzlies closed the half. Desmond Bane wakes up a little bit. And then in the second half, the Grizzlies seemingly figured some stuff out. They were able to attack the Lakers despite the Lakers packing in the paint. They were getting an aggressive Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane hadn't had a good series through games 1 through 3. Desmond Bane in this one scored a playoff career-high 36, 2 off his regular season career-high of 38. He took the most shots he's ever taken in a game. He had 29 field goal attempts. Desmond Bane was huge in this one, and he was very, very aggressive. Before the game, Taylor Jenkins was asked, what do they need to do to get Desmond Bane more shot attempts? Because he's not shooting as much as other guys. And Taylor Jenkins says he just has to be more aggressive. I don't think it's the play calls. It's got to be aggressive. We got to go for it. Bane was aggressive. Bane kept finding that mid-range jumper. He also was just being he was just attacking, I think, more with that mindset of get to the rim. He missed a couple of left-handed layups. Yeah, overtime he missed both of his field goal attempts there. But generally, Desmond Bane brought it. He brought the aggression. The Grizzlies shortened their rotation once again in the second half. Again, that was my formula for optimism in this series is just play our guys. You got to play the big guys. Play them all the minutes. And so they did that in the second half, and it was going great. They got up by 7. They had 97-90 with 5 minutes to go. Then D'Angelo Russell, very inconveniently, makes 3 straight 3-pointers to swing the game. And then we have a back-and-forth game, down the stretch. And, there were some plays that didn't go the Grizzlies' way. There were some calls that didn't go the Grizzlies' way. Notably, my personal obsession is block charge calls and just how I think the charge rule is basically dumb and misused. And like the big collision on Ja and LeBron with 2 minutes and 43 seconds left, that's definitely a blocking foul. Like they missed the call. It doesn't matter. Taylor Jenkins blew his challenge in the first half on an out-of-bounds call. After the game, he said it was a mistake that he used the challenge there. But the calls weren't going the Grizzlies' way, but also the Grizzlies, they slowed down. They got slower and slower as the game went on. The offense ground to a halt. They were getting a little bit of grit and grind style of play. I mean, Jaren, he tied his career high with 14 rebounds. He blocked 5 shots. Jaren was a force defensively. The Grizzlies were scrapping. They were playing hard. But unfortunately, this followed the familiar pattern of games this year. Like it was a crushing loss, but it wasn't like an abnormal loss. It wasn't a loss that you would find like out of the ordinary. This loss was representative, I think, of this season as far as the concerns we've had since, say, December. They're bad on the road. Okay, road game. They gave up the fourth quarter lead here. Okay, that's been happening. They can't execute down the stretch, can't score in the half court. All right, yeah, that happened. And you can't trust the bench. All right, that happened. Specifically in the fourth quarters and overtime, the Grizzlies really got hampered with like what I think is sort of one of just the overall weaknesses of the Grizzlies and even the Grizzlies' best players is just the rebounding. The rebounding thing, like it came back. The Grizzlies won the second chance scoring battle in this game, but in the fourth quarter and in overtime, the Lakers were the ones tracking down the rebounds. In the fourth quarter and overtime combined, the Lakers missed 19 field goal attempts. They rebounded 8 of them. That means the Grizzlies just rebounded 57% of all available missed shots, which is a terrible number for defensive rebounds. The Grizzlies players just consistently getting beat to the ball. And then on offense, where the Lakers keep packing it in, the Grizzlies could not get enough baskets to hold them off. And now, you fall down 3-1 in a series, you start thinking about like the end of the season and you start coming up with big grandiose thoughts. And I'm not going to do all my grandiose thoughts. I think a lot of us have similar thoughts. Like, there's a couple of bounces here and there, you can win the game. I mean, after that Jaren block and then the run out, the Grizzlies take the lead with just under 7 seconds left. Like the Grizzlies are up. Just got to get one stop. One stop. But LeBron James gets to his right. The team said they were not following their defensive discipline, their game plan discipline on this play. LeBron ties it up. Then we go to overtime. LeBron just keeps taking it to the bucket. LeBron turns it on. I mean, he's the greatest. I mean, he's the best player of the last 25 years. He's in the conversation for the best players of all time. And he provided just a tremendous game. 22 points, 20 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 blocks for LeBron James. Also in that fourth quarter and overtime, I mean, Ja Morant, he struggled. Yeah, he got hosed on that block call or that charging call. But Ja only made 1 out of 8 field goal attempts. I mean, by the end of the third quarter, it felt like the Grizzlies had solved it. The third quarter itself, where these teams had been really stuck in the mud, all of a sudden the offense just kind of came freely. And I was like, all right, the Grizzlies have finally figured some things out. They're attacking. Rui Hachimura is no longer a basketball god. Rui's, all his novelty streaks came to a crashing halt. So like 2 out of 9 from the field. But the way the third quarter ended with Ja on consecutive plays, doing that like big boy basically dunk where he just drove straight at the bucket and like laid it in over Austin Reeves. And then a few seconds later ends up dunking it at the buzzer where they try to double team him. And he's like, I don't care. It's Rui Hachimura. I'm just going to go right through this. This doesn't matter to me. So I thought the Grizzlies had figured some things out. And then, of course, they get up to that 7-point lead with 5 minutes left. But it all slowed down. And I don't know, what do you want to blame there? We're all blaming similar, there's no one thing. It's not just the refs. It's not even mainly the refs. If you want to blame one thing, blame missing 33 3-point attempts. Like, it's not Dillon Brooks this game. Dillon Brooks missed his first 4 3-point attempts. Dillon played fine. I mean, Dillon played pretty good. Ja had been really good until the end, when he was not. For me, it all comes back to, a couple of things. One, just the matchup is unlucky. I mean, first and foremost, and most people said this beforehand, first and foremost, facing a mostly healthy LeBron and AD in a playoff series when Steven Adams and Brandon Clark are out is unlucky. Even if you had Steven Adams and Brandon Clark, facing LeBron and AD in a playoff series is unlucky when you're the 2 seed. You assume you can maybe avoid that. Now, if there is any hope for the Grizzlies, there's a few avenues of hope. One is 2 of the next 3 games, games 5 and game 7, if game 7 occurs, they're at home. So if you win your home games, you just got to win one road game. And you've played poorly. Like I said, you've shot under 40% in both games. You haven't really hit your 3-pointers. And despite all that, like in this last game, you were up in the final few seconds in regulation. Took it at overtime. So you could find your offensive footing. Now, I'm not that optimistic. I don't have that like super optimistic, like, oh, hey, man, look at our numbers and we still were there. The Lakers have not hit 3-pointers this series. The Lakers are not knocking in threes. I'm a little more concerned that like the Lakers, they could regress in a positive manner and actually knock down some 3-pointers. But certainly the Grizzlies will be favored in game 5 and they can win game 5, but then it's just hard. It's hard to imagine this team right now winning 3 in a row. Beating a Lakers team that's beaten you 5 out of 7 times this season. So first of all, I think it's unlucky to have to play LeBron and AD and basically have to wish like maybe AD is super banged up. Like I don't want him to, feel pain or discomfort, or I guess I wouldn't mind if he was limited. Like maybe that's an avenue where the Grizzlies could catch a break because AD was definitely favoring his hip and had to, was giving it treatment during the game. But one factor for the Grizzlies and this disappointment of, being on the precipice of elimination, and the series, of course, is not over. It's just the odds of advancing are pretty low. So it's unlucky you had to play the Lakers. I did not want to face the Lakers. Second of all, the roster itself, it's a problem. It's a flat-out problem. And I'll probably get more into this, but it's also something I've repeated, and it's what everyone says. Basically, everyone's opinion, I think, coming into the year, if you leave the immediate, like, hardcore media circle or the hardcore Grizzlies media circle, the common thought that I think is very correct is that the Grizzlies roster this year, outside of Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr., it got worse. Or outside of your known starters, it got worse. And combining that with like the known objective, the known offseason objective was to improve the half-court offense and three-point shooting. That's failed. Luke Kennard made a ton of threes in the regular season. Regular season doesn't matter. The Grizzlies made a ton of threes in the regular season the year before post-trade deadline. Luke Kennard has made his threes in this series. It would help if when he's open, the Grizzlies would swing the ball to him. Like Dillon Brooks had an opportunity to swing it at him wide up in the corner once, didn't do it. But also, like Taylor Jenkins was asked after the game, hey, why didn't Luke Kennard play more? And Taylor Jenkins said, well, we had to get stops. Kennard was getting roasted. Kennard was committing bad fouls. I mean, I like Kennard. Again, he's one of the only guys on the team that can rebound. But the objective this offseason, stated objective, improve the half-court offense and three-point shooting. Well, guess what? We're in the playoffs now. Not making any three-pointers. And it's always risky. It's risky to draw conclusions from playoff series just because they're, by nature, small sample sizes. But they haven't made the threes, and it doesn't feel surprising. It does feel surprising that Desmond Bane hasn't made as many threes as you want. But, like, you're telling me you're surprised that, like, David Roddy hasn't made his three-pointers? You're surprised that Dillon Brooks hasn't made his three-pointers? None of this is surprising. I mean, Ja Morant is shooting an incredible percentage on threes in the playoffs. I mean, he's 47% on three makes a game. Yes, Bane being at 29%, that's an outlier. Jaren being at 29% threes in the playoffs, I'm not sure I'm going to call that an outlier. That seems like within the normal range of outcomes to me. The half-court offense the last two games, abysmal. Cleaning the Glass is saying the Grizzlies were averaging, like, basically their offensive rating in the half-court was about 74 the last two games combined, which is just putrid. They're not able to score in the half court. In this game, many, many times, you're seeing it. And one reason they're pretty good with taking care of the basketball this last game, but they haven't won the turnover battle like we thought they were, where it would be a big advantage. But the Lakers, like, they're crowding the lane so much that, like, Bane's turning the basketball over. And it's not easy for us to get our points in the paint, and then we kick it out because everyone's wide open. But then we're missing all the kick-out shots. I mean, maybe, again, like if 3 or 4 more threes go in over the span of the last 4 games, it looks a lot better. You're like, all right, it's not that bad. But they didn't go in. And you end up with this 3-1 deficit. And you look at, again, the objective that was to improve the half-court offense and three-point shooting. In my opinion, it led them to focus on, like, what archetype of player do we want? Like it led them to go after an archetype of player as opposed to just, maybe getting a good player or keeping a good player. Like Santi Aldama in this game. They're like, all right, we can't play him. Played 7 minutes. David Roddy. All right, David Roddy had some moments in this game. And when I say moments, he played 20 minutes and was 3 out of 10 from the field. He's shooting 30% for the series. And he's a rookie. The other guys you kept around, like Conchar and Zion Williams, did not play. Did not play, coach's decision. The players they chose, the type of player they wanted, guys who can read and react, make three-pointers, stretch the defense, be versatile players. In theory, sure. But what if you just got like a Jared Vanderbilt? A guy who can't shoot. Oh, maybe he might make a shot every now and then like he did in game 4. But like they needed guys who could play basketball. Who could be on the court and do a thing. And one of those things they need is rebounds. I think another issue beyond the particulars of like who they kept on the roster. Like, yes, I think everyone has come over to you can't compete for a title and also have 6 of your roster spots used on 5 developmental projects and John Conchar. Like 6 of your 15 roster spots. Aldama contributed a lot this regular season. But he's a project. And we've gotten to the playoffs, sort of unplayable. The only reason he's playing is there's no one else tall available to check in. Roddy, like I said, he's a rookie. He's a project. LaRavia doesn't play. Project. Zaire Williams, unfortunately, project. Doesn't play anymore. Kenneth Lawton Jr., clearly a project. Hasn't checked in. And then, of course, Kennedy Chandler. Count that as one. The Kennedy Chandler / Kenneth Lawton Jr. roster spot. Total project. And then Conchar. Again, DNP. 1 more year on his contract until the extension kicks in. The 3-year extension. But beyond those roster decisions, one issue for the Grizzlies and one reason I don't like them depending on the guys they've chosen to depend on the bench is the Grizzlies' best players. All right, their best players, John Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., and then let's say Dillon's the 4th best, even though it's, debatable. He's struggled loudly, famously. The Grizzlies players who play the most, Ja, Jaren, Dez, Dillon, in my opinion, they don't have like just the knack or the preternatural ability to react and move to the ball naturally. I think another way to say it is, in my opinion, they don't have a nose for the ball. When a shot goes up and they're defending the shot, they don't immediately think, I need to go get the rebound. I think the stats bear this out for like the kind of subpar at rebounding. Maybe this isn't purely or clearly expressed in any one statistic. But I've always had the opinion that these guys, while being extremely good and talented, and some of them superstars, they don't have the knack for the ball. They don't make kind of the scrappy grit, grind, hustle plays. Like back in the grit, grind era, we know it wasn't necessarily the elite basketball skill talent. It was like the willpower and this ability to have a nose for the ball. Like Zach Randolph, Mike Conley, Tony Allen, Marc Gasol could get to the basketball. Now, these Grizzlies are already probably better than those grit grind teams. I'm not like yearning for yesteryear. I would, if I have to pick talent or grit, I'll give me talent. You need talent to win. But I think a specific roster makeup that hurts the Grizzlies and is harming the Grizzlies right now, particularly with no Brandon Clark and no Steven Adams. Brandon Clark fixes so many of these issues in my mind. So does Steven Adams. But you don't have guys who make those like connective plays as far as like chasing the ball down and getting the ball and making those second chance opportunities. Yes, they got a lot of second chance points in this game. Again, that'll happen. But I don't feel like, and again, maybe I'm wrong here. And maybe this is a unique opinion of mine. But I feel like Ja, Dez, Dillon, when that's your 1 through 3, the obvious issues there are you're lacking in size, and they know this. That's one of the reasons they probably, that's one of the stated reasons why they went for Zaire Williams. They know. They made all the trade offers at the deadline. They know they need size on the wing. But when you have Ja, Dez, Dillon, not great at naturally moving towards the ball, or like Conchar has it. That's one of his skills, is the ability to always be moving and just sense where he needs to be for the ball to come to him. So those guys don't have it. Jaren doesn't have it. I mean, Jaren, best rim protector in the league, maybe outside of a healthy Anthony Davis. Jaren's awesome, just not great at chasing down rebounds. And I feel like we've seen it all season since Steven Adams went out. That combined with the inconsistent half-court offense, you're giving up extra possessions to your opponent. That is something the Grizzlies have to solve going forward. Now, again, the season's not over. They'll have a chance to fight back. One win, all of a sudden we're all optimistic again. But it does feel like losing both of these games in LA, falling down 3-1 to a team that most people picked the Lakers, or at least a lot of them did. It feels like a very big uphill challenge, and I'm not seeing the things like we're not generating easy looks. We're not getting transition baskets. We're not making threes, so I don't know the formula. Because in my mind, like the defense rebounding hustle stuff translates regardless your shots go in or not. And so that's why I'm not optimistic that the Grizzlies can even force this to like a game 7. I think clearly I would expect them to win on Wednesday night. And they have to go back out to LA. And then it's a series. Again, you win one, everything comes back around. But I'd be stunned if they went further. Like, I don't think right now, I think there's too many questions for this team. I think the flaws have been so magnified in this Lakers series where it's kind of like, all right, we just can't do it kind of with this situation. And also, like, it goes back to, what we were saying last episode about what Dillon Brooks said, all the stuff Dillon Brooks said. Let me do a quick break. I got to get an ad read in here, and then I'll close up with some thoughts on just, I guess this, I don't know if it's a controversy, but the Grizzlies losing and then not talking to the media and kind of everything that's happened with Dillon the last week. Don't miss a Game 5 watch party if you're in the Middle Tennessee area. Come to Noble's Beer Hall on Wednesday, April 26th at 6:30 p.m. to catch Game 5, a do-or-die, win or go home game for the Memphis Grizzlies against the Los Angeles Lakers. We will be there giving away Grizzlies prizes. Come watch the game with fellow Grizzlies fans in the Middle Tennessee area. Be at Noble's Beer Hall by 6:30 p.m. Wednesday, April 26th for a Game 5 Grizzlies Nashville watch party. All right, one of the storylines post-game about the Grizzlies is that Ja Morant and Dillon Brooks refused to speak to the media. Now, I don't have a strong opinion about this. I am media. I was there covering the games. But, like, interacting with players is not really part of what I'm accustomed to. I mean, I'm an outsider, basically. I started my podcast, in Nashville, never thinking I would have access. Now I've gained access, but I still haven't really totally incorporated the fact that I can ask players questions and do things like that. But people were a little bit upset that Ja Morant and Desmond Bane, or Ja Morant and Dillon Brooks, refused to speak to media. To give you just the context of that, NBA players are required to make themselves available to the media. It's in their contracts. The team has to provide at least 2 players after the game. My feeling is no players like doing it. Maybe a few people do, but they generally don't like doing it. And they take turns doing it, and like no one wants to. So like people are like, oh, just leave Ja and Dillon alone. They don't have to answer your questions. Well, like that's true, sorta. But that forces their teammates to be like, Desmond Bane's like, well, I guess I got to go out and talk to the media again. So like it forces Desmond Bane to step up and do that, or it forces Jaren Jackson Jr. to step up and do that. So yes, I don't think anyone is saying like we media deserve to be able to talk to the players. It's more to that. And again, it doesn't affect me hardly at all, but that's the context of like, if they're not doing it, I think there is a conversation to be had, or the question to be asked, like, is this good leadership? Should Ja Morant be able to step up? The other nuanced aspect of it is like Ja Morant, we've had this situation this year where he struggled with his mental health. And if he feels like it's not the best thing for him to do, I don't know how to judge that. The other aspect of it, unrelated to all that stuff, just you can make your own opinion about how you feel about it. I don't have an opinion, and I'm not going to editorialize on what the players should or should not do. But we can acknowledge that it's a terrible look for Dillon Brooks. It continues this just nightmarish run, the nightmarish media cycle that Dillon Brooks is going through. Like, on one hand, we have to acknowledge Dillon Brooks, again, did this to himself. He called out the best basketball player of the last 25 years and then followed it up. In Game 3, he missed 10 of 13 shots and got ejected, and the Grizzlies got humiliated. And then he refused to talk to the media after that. And then in Game 4, LeBron dropped his first career 2020 game on him. The Grizzlies lose again, fall down 3-1, and then Dillon refuses to talk to the media again. Like, there's no positive spin to that. All that's a real bad look. Now, if you want to think of basketball players as complex human beings, which I highly encourage, you absolutely should do that. They are not a character in our 2K video games. Like, their off-court, real-world stuff affects the on-court performance. So, one thing that we can do to try to empathize or understand is think about, like, the stress of Dillon Brooks' particular situation, even if he did do it. If we want to call it like a soundbite faux pas, like, put him in the national media, and he's had bad games since then. And now, this last week, in the last couple of months, it has cost him a ton of money. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent. I can't comprehend the tens of millions of dollars in earning or possible earnings that are on the line for him. So all of that rolled together, where it's like he gave an incendiary soundbite, and now he's going through this. I can understand the stresses of that are beyond anything I might ever feel in my life. But it's put the Grizzlies in a tough situation. I mean, maybe it's made it easier for him. Again, I feel like it's now easier to let Dillon Brooks go moving into the offseason. If you lose Game 5 or if you lose in 6, and it's the similar stuff, can't score in the half court, not getting rebounds, Dillon continues to struggle shooting like it's supposed to be. And again, I thought Game 4 was fine from him. His percentages, even if they were poor, for me, if he's going to go like 4 for 11 or whatever, take 11 shots, that's fine. Play good defense. That fits in. That's where we fall back to the who are we going to get that's better than this. But like, if you're going to shoot 30% over multiple playoffs and also get ejected every now and then and also lead the league in technical fouls, it's just not worth it. You know how good you have to be to overcome all that stuff? It's nuts. Another frustration for the Grizzlies, I mean, maybe it is just random, the bounce of the ball, the way the cookie crumbles. I mean, is it a defining feature that the Grizzlies struggle in the clutch, or is it just random occurrence? It wasn't our night. But I think the added frustration of, and the added pain of like the Game 4 loss is in the Grizzlies' last 7 playoff losses, the 3 against the Lakers and the 4 against the Warriors, they've been ahead in the fourth quarter of 5 of them. They've been ahead in the final 75 seconds of the fourth quarter in 3 of them. I mean, they were up, with 5 seconds left against the Lakers before they went to overtime. In Game 4 last year, where, again, Dillon Brooks shot him out of the game, arguably, they were up by 3 with about 70 seconds left. In Game 1 against the Warriors last year, they were ahead with 39 seconds left, and then Klay Thompson hit a 3. They've been ahead in the fourth quarter in 5 of their last 7 playoff losses. So it's not like you're losing by much, but you see like what the issues are. And again, I understand completely why Dillon Brooks is still here, and I've supported him still being here. There was never a way to get a better player. But now it's gone a little bit too far, and I think if they lose in this manner where like they're having, I don't know if it's internal troubles, like the honeymoon's over, And if they lose, I think, badly in this series, then all of a sudden it's like, all right, we have to do something different. It can't just be Dillon Brooks. But anyways, I'm super sleepy since I flew out of LA so early. That went longer than I anticipated, but I appreciate all you guys listening. I'll definitely have another show after Game 5 on a Thursday morning. Hopefully the season will still be going and the Grizzlies will be alive, and then we can start taking some bigger picture looks at the Grizzlies, and I'll do my end of the year wrap up, stats spectacular, and all of that. Anyways, appreciate all you guys listening. Please check out that YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Grits and Grinds YouTube channel. Hope you have a great Wednesday or Tuesday whenever you hear this. Talk to you soon. Go Grizz.